Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Christy Almeida. I am the founder of Autism Belize, and tonight you're joining us to talk about tips for managing distance learning. We have one more person here who will be joining us shortly, just a little bit of technical things. And so if you give me 1 second, should give us some time for people to start signing in too, and hopefully tuning in to watch our program tonight. Let's see. Okay, there we are. We have Miss Kaylia.
Yes. Hello, good day. Miss Kaylia Nuñez here from Belize Brain Awareness Society. So I had a little delay, but nonetheless I'm here. So what's going on, Miss Christy?
Nothing. I'm excited tonight. Hopefully we'll have some parents tuning in to listen to our tips for managing distance learning. I know everybody is a little anxious about how this whole school year is going to run for our kids and for us as parents who have to work. So hopefully we can give them some tips to help them out.
Oh, yes. Even myself as a teacher, I can attest to the distance learning, and also as an ambassador, I can attest to the distance learning packages being a little bit overwhelming, sometimes a little challenging for parents, especially those for special needs that are parents for special needs children, right? And so I believe that this is a very good topic for us to discuss this evening.
And we have to understand this is something that the world is facing. Nobody has the right answer yet. We're all trying to figure it out. Parents with neurotypical children are finding challenges, but for those of us like myself with a special needs son, there are even more challenges to this new way of learning. Our kids don't adjust very good to change at all, already have issues with learning and the school environment, and to take them out and try to do this, it's a challenge. It really is for parents.
It sure is. You know, myself as a teacher, you know, sometimes we do have autistic children at times, and even us ourselves are even trying ways to how we can wheel this child in this normal setting, as what people would call quote unquote normal. But I always say, what is normal at the end of the day? So I believe that through this pandemic, we are getting into remote teaching, and a lot of parents are still skeptical, still confused about what this remote learning is all about. So and how they will weed it in along with just letting their child do the homely duties, apart from doing the homely duties, doing their work. And so some parents are being overwhelmed by all of this, and we always have to highlight our autistic children. We always have to highlight those children. They have their own agenda and their own needs, and that's why this evening is very, very important.
And it is. I'm hoping, like I said, this is a learning curve. Teachers are trying to figure out, how do I teach with packets and not being there physically? Parents are trying to figure out, when do I find the time to help my child? And our kids are trying to figure out what's going on. And like for my son, he wants to go to school. He wants to put on his uniform and go. So it's a hard time for all of us, and we're going to try and navigate. The tips that we've put together, it was a collaborative effort. We had the head of the Special Needs Division for Horizon Academy gave me input. We did some research from online, and we spoke to a bunch of parents in our parents group to talk about their experiences and what they were doing. And so we used a lot of a collaborative effort to put together this presentation tonight. So I'm really hoping that there's tips here that can help families.
Okay, perfect. This is very much needed on all platforms. This is very much needed, Miss Christy.
All right, well, let's get started. And then after the presentation, we're going to take questions. We have an autism mom, we have a specialist on, so we can take some questions. I know Belize Brain Awareness Society has a couple giveaways. So we'll do the presentation, and then we can get into some talking and some fun, and hopefully everyone can get something out of this tonight.
Yep. Sure.
Okay, let's do this then. Here we go at the screen. I'm going to make this a full screen so everyone can see properly, and hopefully that's good. Okay, so tips for managing distance learning with an emphasis for our special needs kids. We kept them in mind when we were doing this presentation, but parents with neurotypical children would find some of these tips useful as well. The first one is setting up your study space. You need to find an area in your house that you can sit comfortably and focus. You want the child, you want to be separated from a relaxation area, away from the TV and clutter and distractions. I'll get more into that. The perfect space to set it up. First of all, you want to bear in mind that our children have a hard time sitting, and so they're not necessarily going to sit there for 4 or 5 hours or however long it's going to be for them to do their work and stay in that one spot. We need to recognize this. It's more of a landmark. It's an area where they're going to start and then maybe they take a break and then come back. But we want to get the children in the mindset that this is where I work. Just like how when they go to school and they walk into the classroom, they know this is how I have to behave and this is what I do. That's what we want to get, is create that mindset for work. So you want to set up that space, and you don't want too much clutter around. A lot of those Pinterests and things you see on TV, they get a fancy desk and they've got posters and everything for their kids, especially for our special needs kids. That becomes too much of a distraction. It's too much chaos for them. We need to keep it simple, keep it organized. We want what the materials they're going to use, and that's it. Like for my son who's easily distracted, there's no way I can put him to sit by a window where he can stare out and watch the cars. He will lose interest then. So you want to try and find an area where they can focus. If it's too noisy, maybe some headphones. Even if you don't have a desk, maybe the end of the dining room table can just be for that at that time. But you want that area where this is where it's going to be for work. You want to also think about creating a safe space. This can help. A safe space is an area where if a child needs a break from something, if it's overwhelming, you're trying to teach your multiplication tables and they're not getting it, you're getting frustrated, they're getting frustrated, they might need a sensory break. Some place that might be either dark and relaxing, or a space they can just be quiet and play or read. Some people might not have the space, but might have a sensory box with just items they can touch, fidget toys, things like that, something that gives them a break. My son is very, very fidgety. So one of the things I like to do is take those exercise bands that use to stretch, and I'll put it through the bottom of a chair. And then he can sit on the chair and just push at it and push at it to ding, and that gives him the sensory input he needs. Some children might like the weight, not to hold them down, but just so that helps them feel their legs if they have sensory processing disorder. So a heavy blanket or something that just might be weighing on their legs, or something that helps them balance, like an exercise ball. Sitting on an exercise ball while some of the kids work, you might think, oh my gosh, no, that's crazy. But for those that are super active, that gives them that sensory input, and then they can. So some of them might need that input. Some of them might need more calming areas, a place where there would be light music or puzzles or just quiet. You know your child best. Figure out what keeps them calm and make sure there's an area for them to have that. And calm might be just the bouncing around, because then that gives them the input. Stick to a routine. You're going to pick a set time of day for schoolwork. And of course, this has to work with your schedule, because I know you all are working, but it has to work with them as well. What time is your child more alert, more likely to be able to sit and focus more? Some kids need to burn their energy off in the morning and then can sit down and focus. Some of them need to get their work done first, because then it'll be hard for them to transition back in. So you want to pick that set time, and whatever it is, like for my son, it's 9 o'clock. Every morning at 9 o'clock, he has to be ready to work. But that schedule can also include the life skills. So if they get up at a time, then in that schedule, you want to put in shower, brushing the teeth, hanging up the towel, getting dressed, making up the bed. All of these are part of his daily schedule. And you want to set all of this down to their free time into it, because our children need routines, especially those on the autism spectrum. They need to know what's coming next, what's happening, what's expected. When you switch up their routine, it really discombobulates them. It frazzles them. So having that set routine. So some days letting the child sleep in and then wake up at 10 to work at 11, and some days you want to wake them up early for 8 o'clock. That's going to make things even harder on you. Making a set routine for a set time, whether it's in the afternoon or morning or whatever it is, it will help them if you stick to that routine. Visual schedules are amazing for this. So we've got several different examples on the screen. The schedules are to show them what's coming up, what to expect in their day. And you can have a schedule where it's shower, make your bed, your chores, breakfast, school, and then break down the subjects, put their breaks in, all of that. You can have the schedule with the check marks. Now, I know you're looking at this and go, oh my gosh, more work. And I know it is, but let me tell you, if you want to lessen the problems, the meltdowns, the difficulties, the whining, oh, but not now, and whatever, these are tools that really help. I was actually very impressed when I went to St. Peter's Anglican School in Orange Walk. Every one of their classrooms had a big visual schedule on the wall to help the kids know what's coming next, what's there. It helps them. And you can do it you can do just the different things where you'll mix and match as you change every day, or you can have your set schedule with the check marks. But whatever it is, as long as there's something there. Think about this. I could not have done this PowerPoint tonight and just sit here and talk to you about these tools, but I might have lost some of your interest. You might not have been as focused. Just the help of a visual aid helps you as an adult. Imagine how well it will help our children. That's how much it's needed. Go at your child's pace. Don't be afraid to take breaks to avoid frustration on both our sides. Let's face it, as parents, through all of this pandemic with having our kids home, working from home, then going back to work, then coming back to work, we're all stressed out. We all need to make sure we're patient and we're taking our time and giving our children time to adjust. So you might want to start off small. You're just back at school now. Don't expect them to sit and work for 4 hours straight. Maybe start with small increments, half an hour, and then they get a 10-minute break and then another half an hour. And the goal is as they get used to this new routine and their new area and the new way of learning, you can extend the learning time and lessen the breaks. Also, remember, repetition is key. When you're getting the packets and stuff, a trick for me with my son is I take the work pages and I put them in a plastic, those plastic sheets. Then I can take a dry erase marker and just have him work and then wipe it off. And then later another day, let's work at it again until he gets it. Because for our children, sometimes it takes a while for them to learn something new. You want to set reasonable goals. Our kids have been out of the school environment for a long time, and it takes a while to adjust to a new learning. Anytime after summer and you go back to school, all kids, neurotypical, those on the spectrum, anyone with learning needs, all of us, we have a time to adjust to get back into that. Well, this has been even crazier. So we do need, and then they're adjusting to something that is new. So we need to give them time to get back into this. So patience is going to be a key. You're going to need your breaks. And please, 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 if you're struggling or you see your child is struggling, talk to the teacher. That's why they're there. They might not be in the room with you while you're working, but they can be reached. You can reach out to them in whichever way your school has shared with them, but ask them, say, hey, my kid's not getting this, or I'm unable to explain this concept, so how can I do this, or I'm having this problem. Let the teacher see if they can also help you, because that's what they're there for. And don't forget positive reinforcements. Establishing expectations is important, and visual schedules can help with this too. So you have your visual schedules, and you can put the rewards in there, or a choice of rewards. For example, I can tell my son, okay, you've done all your work today. Do you want to ride your bike, go for a swim, or have some Oreo cookies? Or so you can give them a choice for what their reward can be. You can also create an expectations chart. That's part of the thing with the schedule, right? Like they have their own chores and things to do. At school, they'd have to. At school, some of them will have to take papers to the office or erase the board. So at home, you can give them their chores and help incorporate these chores into a learning schedule as well. For children with behavioral challenges, maintaining consistency with expectations. They need to know that it's real. So don't tell your child, especially if they're on the spectrum, oh, if you do your work, I'm going to take you for ice cream, and then they do the work and don't take them for ice cream. They need to have set expectations and set rewards, and also set consequences. If you tell them you need to finish this and then you get that, and they don't finish that, then that reward can't be given that day, because they need to know that we're serious and this is it. They need to understand that there's rewards and there's consequences. Maybe if they do the half the work, say, okay, you won't get to get ice cream today, but you can have a cookie. And tomorrow, if we can finish everything, then we'll get it. And remember, it's going to be essential for gradual improvement. All of these things aren't going to help you overnight, but it'll take them a while to get used to everything. First and then helps. These are immediate things, right? First, you do your numbers, and then you can play with the bouncy ball. First, you can finish your math work, and then you can go outside and play. These are things, and also, again, giving the child some choices with the then, right? So first you do this, then what do you want? If you do this, okay, then you can have this one. So let's go and do the work first. Again, these visual things will help. And they're the same, they can be some of the same things you create for the visual schedule that you can just use for your first and then. Physical activity is great for emotional health. They've been locked in. They haven't had that much time. We were able to go back into society for a little while, and then we got locked up again. But our children didn't get much time to play. And so we need to make sure we incorporate that. Whether it's a walk, a ball game, dance, yoga, there's a lot of exercise videos on YouTube. You want to make sure you're getting physical activity and they're getting it as well. So you can incorporate that. Say, okay, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we're going to work for a little less time. But then as a family, we're going to put on some music and we're going to dance because it's carnival time. Or we will just go and play ball or go for a walk or ride a bike. Whatever it is, let's try and make sure that our children are getting that, because just running around the house and bouncing off the walls is going to drive all of us crazy. Ask for help. You are a parent. You're not a trained teacher. And I think we all need to realize, and I think some of us are learning this already if we've already been into this already. Because you think, okay, like I know my multiplication, I must teach this. And then you realize, wait a minute, this isn't as easy. So you want to be able to establish a communication, open communication with the teacher. Tell the teacher, listen, my child has certain learning needs or certain behavioral things. You're sending me these packets. We can't keep up, or we're still having issues with this, or I don't know how to explain these concepts because he doesn't seem to be paying attention. See if the teacher can give you some guidance too. They might be new they might not know your child as well because it's a new teacher for the new school year. But if you talk to them, they've had children before, they've had special needs kids, they might be able to give you some advice. But you're there to support and to guide the child. The teacher's there to help you, to help teach. So when you want to pick up your packets, look at them. Have questions, ask them for clarification, ask them if you need more support. But you want to follow what they're doing because they're the experts. They know what they're doing. So we need to trust them and just make sure we lean on them as much as we can or as much as we need to. Engage your child. Talk with your child regularly about online or distance learning, whatever you're doing. Engage them in preparing for the classroom, organizing the school material. Say, okay, tomorrow we're going to be doing this. Should we use this or this? Ask for his input. Say, okay, we're struggling with math. Do you think you need more? Depending on the level of where your child is on the spectrum, they might be able to engage and help you more with that. My son is severely autistic, so he can't really help with that form of things, but he knows what he likes. So we know, okay, he struggles with writing. So in the days that he's writing and this is the hardest subject, those are the days that we'll give more breaks or the bigger rewards. And again, choosing the reward, because one day he's quite content to just swing on a swing, and then there are days that he wants the car ride, and so the car ride is the big reward for him, right? So you're gonna have to, you know your child and you know what's best, but you wanna try and get them involved as much as possible in the process. We need to be positive through all of this. Kids feed off of our energy. If we're negative, they might be. If we're anxious or frustrated, they're gonna sense this and they might get that. And our kids respond accordingly. If we start screaming, they'll probably start screaming back again, or they'll shut down and refuse to work. If they're hearing us talk to their dads or their grandmas or whatever and saying, oh my gosh, this distance learning is so hard and how are we gonna do this? They're gonna start going, oh, this is hard, we're never gonna be able to do this. So we have to be positive. I remember at the start of COVID with the mask, there was no way I was gonna get a mask on my son. He has sensory processing issues, he's asthmatic. Having him put something, a hat on his head is crazy. Must just put something over his face. No way. But this is a reality. So every day we try, And now, I mean, he's still not wearing it for long periods of time. I think the longest is maybe a half an hour now. But at the start of April, I didn't think I'd be able to get it on his face. So we need to try and be positive, and we just need to keep trying with them. Some things are, after a while, we're going to realize are just not going to work, and we're going to have to rethink what we're doing. But in the beginning, we need to keep trying with this. And this is new for all of us. So we got to be positive, and if we do need to scream or take a break or have a mental thing, try and do it away from them so they don't pick up or hear this, because they hear things, they know things, they feel things. Here are a couple more tips for online learning if you're doing Zoom classes or anything like that. You want to allow for an adjustment time for them to get used to the way of learning. They might be on the computer all the time, but this is a little bit different still from face-to-face. They don't have the kids right there in the classroom, but they're seeing it. So they might want to have a little bit of fun at first or just figuring it out. Let's give them that. And then for those of us that have kids like mine who won't sit and just watch something on the computer, start practicing with them. Zoom grandma, Zoom their friend, have them start doing this with their friends so that when they do try and do it in a classroom, they know, or Google Meets or whatever else they're using, right? They get used to this. I found that even though my son won't sit through a Zoom thing, he's running around, he's listening. We're talking about it, and then he'll come and he'll do the work. And I go, wait, he's listening to the teacher. He's doing this. So now he'll come and he'll watch. And he still won't spend more than 3 minutes at a time without running and then coming back. But he's starting to pay more attention. So you just keep trying. And again, try and make it as much fun as possible, even before the class. Learning from home can be difficult, but it is achievable. We might have to play with things and try things, and it can be frustrating, but I know it is achievable. And distance learning helps reinforce lifelong skills such as time and energy management for them and for us. Independence, because the idea is we want to support, but we want to try and let them do as much of the work as possible. So they're learning something from this. And creative thinking for us and for them too. Well, how can we get this and how do we do this? So yes, it's not the ideal situation, but it is something that we can take from and make as much use from as possible. Okay, let's see here. Hi. I don't know if that helped, or was that a little too fast? Good?
Very good.
All right.
Yes. I'm here.
Here? Okay. So we're going to have
telling you that the presentation was what tips, miss. Very tips. Very good tips.
Okay. Okay, so we have some panelists that we've...
So I believe the tips that you gave are not only just for...
Okay, you're freezing there? I don't know. Are you there? Okay, you froze for a second there.
Oh yes. I was telling you that the tips that you gave do not only work for an autistic child, but even for what we would say a child that does not have autism. Because you give a lot of good tips, like let them find a corner and do their work peacefully. And that works not only for an autistic child, but also for a child who does not battle with autism. So that right there is very, very good. And I believe that you gave some excellent tips. Close to you on that.
Thank you. Okay, well, we have some people here also that can help talk to us about it. So we have Miss Elia Aviles. I'm adding her to this screen here. Miss Elia is the head of the Special Education Division at Horizon Academy. She helped us put together that presentation. And we have an autism mom, Miss Jocelle Stephen here. And
hi, ladies.
We have a panel of ladies tonight. Hi, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
How are you all tonight?
Good. Good. I'm happy and excited to have this medium of reaching out to parents because I feel that it's such a necessity. Parents want to do so much for their children, but sometimes there isn't enough access or resource or even support for sharing ideas on how to make the lives of our
Yes.
students and children easier and more practical, giving them the tools that they really need to be able to reach their potential. So this is so exciting.
Joe, your child is doing distance learning already? School started back?
Yes, yes, he is. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yes, he is doing distance learning, but it's more by packets. The school has sent home packets, but one of the things they've done this term is implemented videos. So every day the teacher will send a video of them actually teaching something. So they're sitting in their classroom, and whether it's the letter A, they'll show them how to write the letter A on the whiteboard. They will show them a video. So it's been really gratifying to see how much they have stepped up their game this term. I think they've learned from the last term, and they've really put a lot of stuff into place that will really be helpful. Um, Sometimes it's hard for me to get Eric to sit and do work, and you play that video and he's attentive. He probably thinks, hey, I'm cool. But he's attentive and he's listening to the teachers, and it gets him to actually perform and work.
I think one of the things that really gets to me sometimes, Mateo's running all
That's
around.
good. That's good.
I just see him glancing, and I go, like, I really wonder how much he's taking in. But then when it comes time to do the work, I realize, wait, he might not be sitting and watching, but he's listening. Like
Yes.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah, Elia can laugh. We're doing some testing with my son last time, and so she's holding up the words. No pictures, no nothing. So she holds up the word iPad, and he goes pad. And she holds up the word car, and he goes car. Then she holds up the word pool, and he goes pool, and then he runs off, goes upstairs, and I'm like, flash. End of class, right there. 5 minutes into session, my son is in the pool.
Oh my.
Yeah. But I wanted to mention though,
They're
Christy, that
awesome. They're awesome kids, man.
Sorry. Yes, Joe?
a lot of what you shared in your presentation is so relevant indeed. One of the first things I realized when this whole COVID thing started and the children were all three of them were at home, I would work at different intervals from home as well, is that needed to have a schedule. And to be honest, we're a family that has never been good with schedules, but COVID taught us to be on schedule and to set, and to stick to that schedule. One of the things I use was Excel. And I have a schedule from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. and everybody's name is there, including my husband's, including mine.
Yeah.
And it has what we're supposed to be doing at certain times. Do we do it every day? No, but it's there for us to follow, and it's a work in progress. We have in there, I'm up at 5, the kids are up at 7, and at 7 they need to do their chores, they need to take their bath, they need to get breakfast, and at 8 the kids are on the computer, and at 8 Eric does a little bit of academics. One of the things, and I think you mentioned it in your presentation, was that it has to be in intervals because their attention span is so short. So like at 8, I would do some kind of academic with him, and then he has free time, some screen time, and then later on I will do motor skills with him, more free time, more screen time, so I could get my work done as well. And then I do sensory play with him, as well as in some form of exercise. And most of the times he's in the pool most of the day indeed. Early in the morning, sometimes, to be honest, it's like we're like, where's Eric? You're searching for Eric, and Eric is in the pool. Or sometimes he comes and he brings his life jacket to you and he goes into the pool. But having that routine and incorporating as well that play and as well the exercise is really important for them, because they're also stressed up, they're also pent up, and so having that kind of schedule helps them with handling their own way of coping with the COVID stress as well.
I think that's key because someone asked me about, well, how much does he understand with COVID? And I go, I don't know. But what I know is I feel crazy not knowing what's going to happen today. Wait, are we on curfew? Can I do this? Wait, can, whatever.
I would just
Imagine him that
like
might not get the big picture and then, have like all of these changes. Wait, why am I not going to school? Why can't I go into the grocery store anymore? Why do I need to do this? And keep changing up their lives with no context. So I could just imagine his level of anxiety. And that's one of the things with the routine, right? At least he knows this is what I do at this time. And in the afternoon, this is what I do. And I really think it helps with their frustration. It will minimize some of our behaviors or problem behaviors. And it will help them engage more in times for work because they know, okay, this is the time I work. This is the place I work. This is what I do. So, Miss Elia, you're the one that works with a lot of these kids with all different types of learning. Do you have anything you want to
add or? Routine is important and having your business.
I wanted to say something, ladies. Something.
Sorry?
Hello.
I don't know who's going first.
Yeah, you want to go first, Miss? She broke up. Okay, go ahead, Elia.
So I was just saying that while having our visual schedules as structured as possible, there might be a time of observation and seeing how practical the schedule fits in for some of our children. So we don't want to be changing, but for some of our children, we might have to change to better suit them, right? So the earlier we can make those observations, the better, but it's not to just totally toss out maybe having to do a change.
See what's working and what's not, so we can maybe fiddle with it, and so we figure out what time of day works best for them, or maybe putting math first because that's the most difficult subject, or maybe moving that down. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Like when they have their maths or if they're on meds, or these are all considerations that we have to take even before as much as possible, right? But if not, and you learn something during the time of a schedule, then that's when you need to make the change immediately, as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree there. Yes. Ms. Nuñez, you wanted to say something? She's frozen. Ms. Nuñez, you there? I want to say for parents too that creating a schedule or setting up the space is additional work for us if we're already overwhelmed. But I think in the long run, it will make it easier for us once everything is done, because we're going to have less behaviors or more of a structure for them, that it will be easier. And we need to remember, it's like the airplane. My sister always gives me the example of the airplane thing. They tell you when the mask drop, put the mask on yourself first and then help your child. Because if we're burnt out and we're losing it, we're not going to be able to help our children. So we need to make sure that in that schedule, we're also thinking about taking time for ourselves, having some sort of activity, whether it's yoga or whatever, that will help us. Because I see it in myself. When I'm stressed out or anxious or whatever, I tend to be more short-tempered, I'm less patient. It's harder for me to work with him. But the days when I have a little bit of free time, or I've gotten a run-in or exercise or something, I'm able to focus more and help him. So in those tips, also remember that we need to take time and think about our health as well.
And I think what's important too is spending time together as a family, because it's not just for those who have multiple children. What we have done even more, we used to do it before, but not as frequent, but every Friday night we have a movie night where we all sit together and we watch a movie. We do popcorn or we make ceviche and we sit as a family, and every night, every Friday night there's a poll as to who should select the movie. But we do have a movie every Friday night, and then on Saturday nights we do game night. whether it's a game of Uno attack, or sometimes we try to incorporate bits of education. So there's this game we play where you have to silently think of a letter, and let's say the person says, F. Then they have to start naming things with F, whether it's a country or fruits, and the children find it really fun. And Eric sits there and he's listening, and sometimes we hear him chime in a word or something, but we ensure that he's part of it. Can be destructive at times. He's pulling the cards, he's doing whatever, but we want to make him be part of the family. So we try every Friday night, every Saturday night now. And if we don't do it, the kids are upset. So it's part of the schedule now.
I like that idea. Yes, that's a great tip there.
Sorry about that, ladies.
Froze on us there. Okay.
Yes, yes. I was getting ready to ask you guys a question. I know that we have Miss Christy here from Autism Belize, and we have a specialist there as well that is for special needs. And then we also have a parent. I wanted to know, right now we have a little dilemma in our organization, Belize Brain Awareness Society, whereby a grandmother is helping her grandchild with the back to school packet, the distance learning packages, the remote packages, no? And she's mentioning that he's autistic, by the way. He does everything that is coloring. He does everything that is drawing. He does simply any and everything else. But he's simply not writing anything. And the grandmother was asking me, she said, Miss Nuñez, what to do? What can I do? What should I do? And she was she's totally confused and lost why the child is not writing. Do you ladies have any tips on that when it comes in terms of this remote learning packages and the autistic child is not writing?
Miss Elia, you want to take that one first?
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to approach answering the question, bearing in mind that it's remote learning, but just in the same idea as if the child was at school. So
Okay.
while we might want to teach the child to work on writing, the main thing is to ensure that the child, since the child is able to do the work, to get it done. So providing the accommodation, or we refer to it as special arrangement, where the grandmother writes for the child, that is totally okay. That is not placing the student at an advantage as compared to his other peers, but it's just affording him the opportunity to get the work done, right? So it's okay if grandma writes the answers. Then a separate goal for that child may be to work on writing as a skill. That's a separate goal. Okay? So you can tell her to press ease, and teachers would know this too, right? It's a special arrangement. It's also available for the national exams, which is another topic as well. But it's okay for her to go ahead and write his answers and then work on writing as a separate skill on the side.
And I also believe that what you ladies had mentioned earlier is very, very important. You guys mentioned about keeping the routine. I think a lot of autistic parents, and not only that, but a lot of parents on a whole, need to learn about keeping their child on a set routine. I remember when I was young, every Saturday, I don't know if you ladies have any routines. Let us share a little routine that we had when we were younger. I had my mom had a routine every Saturday. Saturday morning we had a routine of cleaning the house. I had my mother wrote on a paper that was stick on the wall, and she said what I will do and when I will take my break and when lunch will be presided, and then I go and play. That was Saturdays, and that was for me. And unfortunately, later on, I ended up falling ill with a brain illness. But that helped me because every Saturday I know that I was been on that schedule. Did any one of you ladies had a set schedule when you were coming up?
Joe, did you?
I didn't need a schedule because my mom
That
just
seems so
said
long ago.
I had to clean the house or there were chores to do. I guess it was a set schedule, but not written. But yeah, it was cleaning house. Get chores
I mean, for me,
Joe, you go
Yes,
ahead.
Christine?
go ahead, Christy.
Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead. I started out by saying that schedules was not our thing. So we had to just with COVID develop a schedule. But I mean, growing up, yes, we had chores. I honestly never liked cooking. So my sister didn't like cleaning. So every time we just switched up chores where she did all the cooking and I did all the cleaning. So my husband cooks most of the time because I still don't like to cook as much. But yes, I agree with you. Schedules are definitely important. It teaches them discipline, um, and it does help them somewhat to focus on the task that they have at hand before they move on to something else.
We had to have a schedule because there were three of us girls, and we would fight about whose turn it was to clean bathroom or outside or dust. So my eldest sister would make a schedule, and they'd be our names, and we'd take turns. So yeah, my eldest sister, was very OCD about scheduling. So I think she made me that way now. That's her. I believe Diane. Back to your child with that's having problems with writing. It
Yes,
might
yes.
work on fine motor activities. And so there are things that might, like a tweezer. This is a toy one, which you can get them. And having him practice squeezing and picking up things help build strength in the hands that help with writing. Because sometimes it's not necessarily their inability to write, but if they don't have the proper strength and handhold, they have a hard time. They might be able to just write like their name and then their type.
Okay.
Building the muscle. So things like pinching or getting beans and having them drop it through a hole. Like if you just get a plastic bottle and a slit and have them push the beans through the hole, now you can make that a counting exercise. But the pinching of the bean and the pushing also helps build that strength. There are things like
Okay.
that have them pull it off. But there are different activities, there are occupational therapy stuff that will help build the strength of the fingers, which you're not actually practicing writing, but it will translate to helping better holding of the pencil and everything too. So, I mean, any activity where you can be pinching and picking up Cheerios. That's why as a baby, they tell you put the Cheerios on the tree and then pick it up. That's your first start of fine motor building. Like that, anything that will pinch or string, things that you can string on to like a piece of yarn, where they have to pick up something and a bead and put it on a yarn, and doing that all builds that strength, that fine motor strength you need for writing. So that's something there that you can.
I'm very, very thankful for that because our organization, we have over 40, you would say 45 autistic children, right? So that comes underneath our neurological care. And some of the members have expressed the overwhelmingness for the distance learning packages because their child is simply not adhering to the fact that they need to be still, get their work done, and because the packages has a deadline. And I wonder, what do you ladies think about the deadline for these packages when it comes with autistic children? Because that's another thing that whereby I am not certain, but I believe that maybe it's building up a little anxiety for the parent. And then that child is already autistic and he has a deadline to meet. What will you say? What is the best tactic to deal with something like that?
I think if your child has a diagnosis, these are things you need to talk with the teacher, with the principal, let them know. This is whatever learning disability, it could be autism, it could be dyslexia, it could be Down syndrome, whatever it is, if there's a learning disability, make sure the school understands, and then go back to them and say, okay, we're trying to keep up, but we're falling behind in this area. This is this thing, I'm trying to work on it. How can I help him work better, or whatever your time constraints might be, or maybe they're sending more and more on new topics when you're still trying to teach topic 8 because it takes longer to learn. So they need to learn this. And it might help too to have the old teacher who is working with your child talk to the new. They will also
Okay.
that level because a lot of our kids are starting with these packages with new teachers who don't know them because you've gone into another year. So
Yeah.
asking, hey, he had Miss Kayla last year. Can you talk to the new teacher and explain how my kid learns and what some of the things are? These things. I think an open communication, being very frank, being very open, will really help with understanding and working on these things. And that's the first thing, because sometimes teachers don't want to be difficult. They want to make our lives hard. They really just want to help. And if they don't know and they don't have the information,
They don't know.
remember, they don't know your child.
Yeah.
This is a real future for your child. So it's a kind of learning curve. So a lot of times it's not that, they want to make your life hell. It's maybe they just don't know. So we need to talk about it. Actually, parent here who says, Diego, my ASD has problems with writing too. He does good answers and numbers, but not complete sentences right now.
That's one of our member. That's one of our member, Miss Sharon.
Yeah, she does a lot of stuff with Autism Belize as well. And again,
Yes.
if they have the ability to write, but they're not writing a lot, I really feel working on fine motor exercises. Like I said, it will help build that muscle so they're able to write more without the pain or the strength. A lot of times it's just a weakness in their hands or something like that. That just happens. So occupational therapists, any occupational therapist will jump on this and say, oh no, fine motor. Start stringing beads, start doing this. All of these things that will help build that strength there.
Yeah, Christy, if I could just add to that, in your presentation, you mentioned working at the child's pace, and I think that's so important here.
Exactly.
We can't afford to stress them. We have to monitor their stress level as well. Put added pressure on them when it comes to academics, it can really be detrimental. Online learning may not work for every special needs child, and that's a reality that we have to face, and we may have to be adaptive in our approach. The open communication with the teacher is so vital. It's vital for every child, whether they're a special needs child or they're not, because online learning is new for us here. And so having that open communication with that teacher is very, very critical. And so I would encourage that grandmother or any parent that's going through that to make sure that talk to that teacher. If you have to talk to that teacher daily, do it. If necessary, then just do it. Another thing that helps too with the writing, there are pencil grips that are sold on Amazon that you can insert the pencil in, and it helps them with grips to write better.
Yes, that works with my son. He has the things you push on. And this year, Miss Elia recommended something with weight too. I don't know how that's working, but we just got those. See, Sharon says I tried thicker crayons and then escalated to jumbo pencils. And he seems to be coping more with that. See, so it's not an inability to write. That's a fine motor issue.
Yeah.
And
Some of that.
Yes, Miss Elia?
Just to remember again that while we're working with the fine motor to improve the writing skill, it's still not to deter you from keeping up at the child's pace, getting the work done. So again, providing the accommodation the child needs. In the meantime, working on the other skills like the writing skills. But
And you talk about the frustration and keeping at the child's pace. That's why I like to incorporate the life skills with my son. So part of his learning thing is working on making bed or getting himself dressed or these things. I consider that part of the education and learning. That's why that's in his schedule to push things, because we can't sit down and work at a desk doing numbers and reading for the length of time that is required or whatever. But we can take breaks and say, okay, let's try and do this, or work on different things around the place, whether it's just puzzle time or whatever else, so that we're incorporating other things.
Okay.
Now, Miss Nuñez, you said there were going to be giveaways.
Oh yes, yes, I have. We have. Well, as you know, Miss Christie, you helped us tremendously. So every year we have started, our organization have started a back to school special, and with this back to school special, we only cater to special children of special needs, well, exceptional learners. And this is because of every time you're looking at back to school giveaways, they're only about what we would say, quote unquote, the normal children, and then our autistic children are being left out. And so what we did with the team of specialized persons, um, we found some toys. We made sure that they are being screened. And we do all of this. This year we charge a small fee of $25. We did all of that, and it also came with snacks. And so we are just up for some of the special needs packages. And so I decided that since we're doing this, since we're having this stream, why not throw in some of these giveaways and see how it goes? I want to know if any one of you ladies has a question whereby we can throw out there to get anyone in the audience ready to win this package.
How about if somebody can share with us something that's working for them?
Okay.
Idea, something that's working
That's
for
a
you.
good idea, Miss Christie. So for giveaway number 1, share an idea or share what do you say? Share a tip that is working for you in this distance learning era that we're in right now. What is working for you? What is helping your child at this present moment? Can you just share it in the comment below, and then you will win the back to school special package that we have for an autistic child or a non-autistic child. So let us see how that there will go.
Let's see if we get any comments or suggestions or see what's working.
A lady said, Miss Alice Castillo said that wise advice, great suggestions, kudos to the presenters. I believe that you ladies are giving very good tips indeed, because this is what people and parents and guardians all over in Belize need. You know, it's not that easy to be with an autistic child all day and that has packages to get done, and they're not really keeping still. So with routines and all these little suggestions and tips that Miss Christie had in there, I believe it will better help.
I hope so. Well, let's see if we get any more ideas there. Okay, here we go. We have someone saying something. Setting up a workstation at home to resemble the school. I like that.
That's excellent. That's very good. So Miss J. Hernandez. So I don't know, Miss Christie, you're this technician. You need to tag her as the winner.
All right, we will do that. Do that there. Yay, you won your back to school special. We'll have Kayla get back to you. About that.
Yes. She needs to send you guys
We're getting some more.
what else? Maybe pictures and those things as well.
Okay, let's see. Johnson Joe says it's important that kids are keeping in touch with their friends. Very important.
That's true.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, that is very important.
Or even if it's again Zoom, if you can give them some time, they
Yes.
can't meet in person because they won't wear a mask or whatever. Zoom time, Google Meet, chatting on Facebook, give them their time to socialize and laugh and play with each other. That's a very good tip as well. And we have a next one here coming in. What is working for us is scheduled classes. We have scheduled from 9 to 11, and every 20 minutes we have a break, and those breaks consist of dancing, jumping, skipping rope. Then we settle down and continue till we're done at 11. I agree. That sounds like the perfect sort of
Oh, she
schedule.
has a schedule. She has a nice schedule, Miss Sharon. Miss Sharon has a very good schedule.
She does.
This one is on that.
Hold on. Her reward chart has ice points for ice cream and pina colada. I want to be your child.
Yes, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I need a reward chart. I'm still a big kid.
Right? I work towards rewards. That's my Friday afternoon mojito, man. If I can get my work done in time by Friday, 2 o'clock, I'm already saying, yep, it's time for my mojito. My son will come and say, Ka, and I go, no, it's Friday. This is mommy's reward. We don't go anywhere on Friday. I like these tips, guys. I like these tips.
Yes, awesome.
Oh, very good. Oh, dear. Does anybody else have any questions out there in the audience?
Yes, I was going to ask that.
Anything that, you know, is an issue that's going on at school that you think that we can maybe help with, or some ideas, something you need more information on, you're struggling with? Anybody out there, let us know.
What it is that they would want to know pertaining to distance learning. How are you guys that are the parents in here? How is your child adapting to the distance learning?
Christine, take this one first.
No?
Okay, I'll go. It's been a challenge. It's been a challenge. It's been a struggle, to be honest. What we did recently was set up a space, which is one of the things Christy mentioned. So our guest room has now been converted to a full study, and we got a special table for him. Challenge has been getting him to stop jumping off the table now. But that dedicated space where he's away from distractions has helped a bit. The scheduling has definitely helped. And working in intervals, because I think first when we were trying this online learning, we were trying to push everything like half an hour, let him do his stuff. So I had to develop a schedule where I had like a circle time, then I went into something else, but all within half an hour. And then talking to another autism mom, she shared with me, break it up into intervals, 5 minutes, even if his attention span is 5 minutes, it's just 5 minutes. And when he's had enough, stop. Don't overwhelm him. And so that has been working.
Okay.
It's a work in progress. Not every day it works, but persistence is what we need to keep at when it comes to our children with autism.
Mine has been a cycle, because we started like getting into a routine. Okay, we're gonna do work, and then we'll have quiet time, and then we're gonna do this. So for a while, we were going to Marion Jones and walking around track, so he gets his outing. Then we started taking the bike and working on him riding the bike. But then they shut down Marion Jones. And, and then it was like, wait a minute, what are we going to do now? And we couldn't go out again. And then we're like, okay, we can go out, but we have to do this. So what are we going to do? So every time there's some change, it messes up with our schedule, and I see how it affects him. He stims more, he gets more anxious, it'll affect his sleep, which means he's up all night. It's really hard to get him into the routine the next day. So it's very hard for us, because we'll try and get into something, and when we start seeing progress, something has happened, and it's like, I'm going to try and figure it out again. But he has his set space, and he gets the time. Most days he goes down at like 9 a.m. and he's ready to work. He bounces around a lot. He doesn't sit, so it's a schedule thing. But that's good. But for us, it's trying to figure out the rest of the day, because he can only focus for so long, even with breaks. So the afternoon, it's okay, are we going to be able to go to the sea? Can we go out? Like, he wants to go for a car ride, and for a while we couldn't even take him out in the park. So it's just for us trying to adjust and figure out things. But it's been exhausting. I'm tired. I stress patient so much in the presentation, and I think that's kind of knocked me over the head to keep reminding me to be patient on a breather, because I know it because I see it in myself. No, it has not been easy at all. What do? We just keep trying, right? And what doesn't work, like what we said, we adjust, try something else, try something new again.
Okay.
We
I
haven't done
don't know. You know what I would like to see right now? I would like to see the teacher who teaches special needs children maybe show a package, or what is it that she's doing, and how is she sending her package home.
I don't know if we have any. Miss Elia is a special needs teacher, but they're doing online learning. So Miss Elia calls
Oh,
my
how
son.
are they incorporating it? Yes.
She called. We have Zoom sessions with Miss Elia almost every day. So
Oh.
actually see her with over the iPad. You want to explain to us, Miss Elia?
Well, it's just that we do sessions with Zoom, but then there are also lessons that the parent can access to see those same Zoom sessions. The lesson is outlined. There are videos, there are activities to follow along with the activities that we want the child to get done. I'm not too sure how the packages are working out for our children with special needs, really. So I can't really speak on that. I can say that we're learning. I myself, with the different children, I continue to learn and adjust to their pace and their schedules, and just keeping patient and keeping at it and communicating with the parents and whoever is working with the child is really essential to getting through the day. I just wanted to mention when you guys were talking too, that some days will be better than others, right? Like last week, we only got one of our children to be in the session for 10 minutes, and that's okay. And then today, he did the entire 30 minutes of the session. So,
That's good.
Yeah.
They've been really good about adjusting, because with the class that Mateo's in, he's supposed to be online in the afternoon. And my son does not work on like the afternoons, when 2-3 o'clock. That's usually when he's like passed out or something. So they've adjusted for Teo, and so he gets his work is on the website by 8:30 in the morning. So when we start 9, we know that we have the instructions on what to do and everything, and then Miss Elia will call in. So they've done a lot of adjustments, I guess, for each kid to suit their specific learning needs for that. How does it work with the packages for you, Joe?
What they've done is they've created an assessment sheet for us where we actually rate their skills occupational, for example. Is he brushing his teeth? Whether he's achieved it or not on his own independently. Is he putting on his clothes, for example? Then there's a part for academics in terms of writing, any things in terms of counting numbers, speech as well. So they have like about 3 different segments in the assessment sheet. And basically I think it's a yes or a no in terms of achieve or not achieve. Then they send the worksheet packets, which would be whether we're doing like the letter A or sight words. So that's a bit more different. But what I like that they incorporated that assessment sheet where we can show the progress of the child, or whether he's having difficulties in one area or the other.
And when
they're also, like, even they sent a video, I think it was yesterday, the teacher, of them doing gardening. So they're trying to incorporate not just the academics, but everything that they do in school. They're really trying to make the children feel like, hey, you're still enjoying school even though you're not physically in school.
And when you send your packages, do you have a time frame on when you have to get the work back? How does that work for you?
We're very flexible with that. Very flexible. that's one thing I appreciate with the school is that they have been very flexible. I There was one point where last year's work, Eric threw all of it into the pool. He was on a tirade, and I was doing some work on my computer, and my husband came and said, "You won't believe what Eric did." And I went in outside, and the pool was covered with all of his work that I didn't even get to submit in. And so when I shared,
Facebook.
I took a video as proof that, hey, it wasn't me. Eric went into
It was like the dog ate the homework. It really did end up with the pool.
Yeah. So when I shared it with the teacher, she was like, I don't know whether to laugh or cry, but they were very flexible and understanding, and they do understand because it's a special needs school. It's Stella Maris. They really work along with your child and their pace, and that's what I really appreciate with them. They do take the time on because every child is so unique. They understand each child's needs and they adjust to that child. So
That's what we want.
for example,
Right? To understand and be flexible and work with us.
right.
Yeah.
So for example,
Yeah.
she knows that with Eric is spelling words that my 8-year-old can't spell. He's spelling big words. And so she takes him a bit farther in the curriculum than where she do with other kids. So she looks at each individual child and say, you know what, I need to do this specifically with them. So she doesn't always work with one curriculum. She adjusts that curriculum to fit the child.
That's important.
We have
Yeah.
Sharon is back saying my biggest issue is Diego is easily bored and distracted. He's very brilliant, so he believes he doesn't need to do the work. And an assessment made to him, he was almost 2 grades ahead of his grade level. I have met Diego. I know he's brilliant. I saw him when I went to my son's school, and he was impressive. So I see that. That just means we have to challenge them more, right? Ask the school
Right.
to do more work, to send more challenging things, and challenge
Right,
them as
that-
possible.
Right.
Elia?
That's like where you said, especially when you said communicating with the teachers, it's the same thing. Communicate and to reach some kind of understanding so that you can provide what the child needs. So, communication is so important. And then I'm thinking, well, everybody was talking about whether it's packages or the online, and I too am learning this because this is really a learning curve.
Yeah.
Having the materials that you need available to get lessons done is important. So just parents being aware of certain materials that will aid in getting the lesson done is so important. I mean, there are some basic materials that you can have readily there, and it doesn't have to be bought. It can be bottle caps. I'm just thinking very openly right now. But yes, just having materials will help in getting through your schedule and your lessons too.
What I noticed, because where I teach at, they have a special needs section as well, and I noticed that my colleague, she uses like some little game templates to send at home, and then she sends them video of what they're to do with the game templates, and it's like a fun way of helping them to learn and cooperate. And she said it's also good at their home, whereby her classroom is set up like a house. So it has the chairs and the table and the kitchen area and her own. It looks like a home. So they mostly teach these I think autistic learners the setup of a home, if I'm not mistaken. And so her classroom looks like that. So she also has time whereby she has them identifying certain areas and parts of their home. And like I told her, I'm very, very like it was shocking to me to have seen such thing. But what I like what you mentioned, Miss the head of special needs area there at New Horizon, right? You mentioned that it's also a learning process for teachers, and a lot of people are not understanding that. So I believe that before they get riled up about what all is in the packages and how this and that and Tara is getting done, is like I'm going into the third week and I'm just getting into a schedule also for how the packages should be run, because I have never been a package teacher. I have always been a classroom teacher. And so it's very new to teachers themselves. And I will encourage parents that, you talk to that teacher. Don't go and make a fuss over the package, and you send what you can. Don't make it a big issue unless it's maybe something grade wise or something that is needed on a teacher end for whatever reason. But do not go and make it a big issue. I have heard and seen a Facebook post already about the package being too much. And I'm like, I believe that probably that school and those teachers are still in the phase of still learning what a package should entail and how much information should be in it as well. So I don't know if you guys have something to say about that, with the quantity of the packages that you guys are seeing that are passing you, and what it is that you, miss, the teacher as well, is sending out. What do you guys think about that?
I think communication.
I was just gonna say that to again, right back to communicating and establishing what needs to be done for that child. Because maybe one child needs less work, but like one of her parents shared, maybe that child really needs more. So the only way you will know how to prepare packages is there is some level of communication. I mean, and not really consistent communication has to be there.
Especially when you're dealing with special needs children. Your average or typical child, they might be more or less on the same pace and follow behind and catch up. But our kids, like what Sharon says, that they might be exceptional learners in one area and master something very quickly, but really struggle in another area and be way behind. And so talking, again, remember, the teachers are new this year to these students. The teachers don't know your child. It's not like they were for a year or 2 years. A lot of them are new. And so a lot of communication is going to be needed to just say, hey, this is what's going on. We're keeping up here, but we're falling behind here. Or we were good for a while, but now we're not. Or I don't think he's getting this. Or it's putting too much pressure on him or on me. And before, I would always tell people, before you go post on Facebook or do anything like that, try talking to the teacher first. Try and see if they can explain you with it. Because you're not a teacher, they're not the parent. You gotta listen to both sides and see how you can work. Yes, by the end of the year, you want to achieve certain goals and meet certain tasks, right? But we all have to keep in mind that we're working at the child's pace, and that this is a learning curve for everyone for it. And if your child has special needs, you want to maybe talk to the school about being in an IEP, an individual education program. They might need a special thing, so they're not on the general curriculum with everyone. They might need something more specialized for that too. They might need that. Maybe you got through infant 1 and infant 2 and standard 1 without an IEP, but now with working a little harder, your child might just need an IEP for some special help. And that might be something to consider for the parent and the teacher.
Okay.
I do want to say, because I've had you guys on for a long time, we're not getting many more comments. Before we block off the presentation tonight, well, this whole video will be live on Facebook and we'll put it on YouTube. But the presentation itself is on our Autism Belize website. And I also put on a different document as well. It's called, let me get the exact name because I gave it up. It's a back to school toolkit, basically. And Autism Belize, we created it before, when we thought school was going to go back in session, when we thought that you would be in class with persons. With your teacher. From me to you, a guide to better understanding me better. And it was created to introduce new students with autism to their teachers and to give their teachers additional information about autism. So the goal was that the parents would get this document, fill out the first 2 pages about their son or daughter, and the son or daughter of the student would take it to school and give it to the teacher. And there's information about autism, sensory processing information, and all of that. That document went up on our website today too. So if your teachers out there listening or parents, even though you're not face to face, it might also help you to sort of fill out some of this information to give to the teacher. A new teacher, maybe they know your child is on the spectrum, but they're still not too familiar about what autism is. So you might want to just share it when you go pick up your packet. Say, here, I have a packet for you. Here's some information about my child, and here's some information about autism. It might help the teacher because they want to learn as well. And maybe they're just haven't had that much exposure and experience with a child on the spectrum. So that is on our website, and that's downloadable. So you can download it, fill it out, and give it to the teacher and say, hey, I have a package for you today. Okay? So hopefully those can help you guys as well. If you all have other questions or any other problems or anything like that you need help with, you can always reach out to Belize Brain Awareness Society or Autism Belize. If we don't know the answer, maybe we can find someone who can help find the answer.
I want to add one thing, Miss Christie. I always believe that yourself and I, we were having a conversation recently. And I just want to add in this tip here that if you speculate or if you suggest or if you think or if someone have even told you that your child maybe autistic, kindly go and see a specialist. Someone had asked me recently which specialist to go and see. They are clinical psychologists. We have a lot of them in Belize, all over Belize. We have one speech therapist. Reach out to the correct sources. Do not let your child be lingering with their behavior and their tantrum, and you are not getting them the help that they need. And this is what I see a lot. And even as a teacher, sometimes you would have told some parents that, I speculate, that your child may have autism. My child has that, and this and that, and they flare up on you, and they will simply not do one thing, and that is to go and get that child screened. They are not damaging themselves. They are not damaging the family. They are not damaging the community. They're damaging the child. And I want you ladies to just speak on that a little, because that is a major issue, that a lot of these autistic children are not properly screened. Some of them are just quote unquote labeled. Some of them are just quote unquote left there on their own. Some of them are just simply, they want to grow out of it. What should parents that have a speculated case of autism at home do?
Anybody want to jump in before I do?
I could share on our journey to diagnosis. I think it has to do with person's their personality. Not every parent is willing to come out and share who their child is, and we have to understand and respect that as well. For us, it was our his pediatrician that noticed from before he was 2 certain tendencies that alerted us. So he said he didn't want to label him, but it alerted us to the fact that Eric may be autistic. And he told us to watch for certain signs. So that's when I started to do my research and what this thing really was and is. Denial happens. It can be a natural part of the process, and it's a process. So people may go through denial at first, but it takes time, and everybody works through this on their own. Yes, I agree that it's important for you to ensure that your child is diagnosed. If you as a parent, you know when something is not correct. You see the signs, you look at the
Mhm.
progress, and yes, that should be an alert system for you as well. So yes, I would encourage anyone who is going through that stage right now to go ahead and do that diagnosis. I did a diagnosis with a clinical, I can't remember her name right now. Christy, you had her on a couple of times.
Shane.
Deshane Lopez.
Yes, yes, this,
She's very good. She
yes,
is very, very good. Someone need to tag her.
right.
Miss Christy, tag her.
So, so I did it with, and I also did it with Inspiration Center, where we had a neurologist came down, and I can share that experience. He was really brutal. I was in tears, even though I had the suspicion, or but the way it was said to me, and I was alone. My husband was away on a work trip, and I broke in tears because all the while it's you're hearing and you're thinking, the reality of it really set in there.
Yeah.
And Eric was diagnosed as severe autism. He's level 3 autism.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it was a real feeling of desperation because you're not sure where the resources are and stuff like that. But one of the things that really helps you parent is to do your research, and I'm really thankful for this group that Christy has formed, where as
Yeah.
parents we can share with each other, right, and learn and feed off of each other from it. But we have to work with each other. We have to work on the stigma that's attached to special needs as well. It's not just because the parent may not want to, but they want to protect their child from any stigma.
Mhm.
So this may be their protective mechanism, right?
Yes.
And
Miss, can I add one thing? I was really distraught a while back because we have a member who is very open and about their child having autism at a school here in Belmopan. And this mom, these family, the Waits, they will be seeing this video afterwards. They express very openly that their child has autism. So a parent went and told the mother for the little boy went and told a parent that she noticed some things in her child that her child also has. And the lady told her, my child not retarded. And I know that hit really, really deep for her, from the time when she told back the organization that, you know what, where I am only want my child to accept his imperfect, how would you say it? She mentioned that she only wants her child to accept that he's different, but that he's also loved for who he is. And she expressed that so many times, and it hurt her when parents are saying, or when adults are saying these things, that something is wrong with these kids because of that. And that was what really drove me to say, you know what, we need to put more emphasis on autism in Belize.
Uh, just to say, Autism Belize, our goal is to teach autism, promote awareness, show acceptance, and provide support. One of the biggest things with trying to get your child diagnosed is it's an expensive procedure. It's not as easily available as you'd like to think it is here. I know one mom that saved up and ate beans for 2 weeks to drive from Punta Gorda to Belize with her autistic son. She knows
Wow.
spectrum. After eating beans for 2 weeks and working extra jobs with CHC to save money to come up to just get the functional assessment done in a day, to turn around and go right back down to PG again. And she called me and told me she was going to be doing this back in like May. And she was able to do this in August because it took her that long to save up the money and get it ready and everything to do that. So it's really not as easy. Also, the information isn't as available. You said you need to do your research, and that's the thing. You have to be that kind of person that's going to sit there on the computer and start researching and figuring out what it is and everything, because you don't really know what autism is until autism touches your life. And so it's one thing to you go and say, hey, I think your child is autistic, but for that parent that's hearing it for the first time, they don't know what that means. They have no clue, and it takes a while for them to learn and do that. And then yes, they don't want to talk about it because we need to have a society that's accepting of differences, and we're not there. And so there is that challenge. That's one of the reasons why I write my blog every week, and I talk about how hard it was when I got the diagnosis and saw that level 3 severe, because that's what my son was diagnosed at, and I pushed for the diagnosis. I went to the doctor's office knowing my son was autistic. I'd already gone and spoken to a doctor. I did the MChat test, which is free, that you can do online, where you just answer some questions and it'll tell you whether or not you should get your child tested. I did that. I pushed it. Everybody else was like, oh no, boys talk later. Oh, Christy's your first child. Don't worry about it. Oh, everybody, my family, my husband's family, my husband, everybody was like, Christy, don't overreact. I went into that doctor's office going, I know my child's not. And then I got it in black and white in writing, and it said level 3 severe, and I broke down and bawled uncontrollably because I kind of knew it, but I wasn't ready to accept that either. So it's a process. It's like what Joe said, it's a process and it's hard. And that's why we have Autism Belize, because we want to support parents through that process. We're not here to say, man, you should have been gone years ago or this or the other. It's not about judgment. It's not about wherever you are in terms of accepting or questioning or the information you need. Because we've had families, I have parents like Joe that have done their research and know their stuff. And then I have some that say, we really don't know nothing. We had the diagnosis a year ago, but we still don't know. We're not here to judge wherever you are in that acceptance process or whatever you're doing. We're just here to provide support and teach about autism and hopefully create an awareness and acceptance in Belize so that parents do feel comfortable about sharing where their child is, whatever learning disability, whatever disability it is, without worrying about what negative feedback they will get. Hopefully, the bottom line, the goal is that we can build up towards that so that people will feel comfortable. I feel that if I keep sharing my story and what's going on with Mateo, the good, the bad, the horrible, the great stories, whatever it is, if I keep sharing, other parents are going to feel more careful about sharing, because a Belize that is educated and accepting of differences will be a stronger, kinder, transformed Belize. I firmly believe that. That's our goal, right? And through presentations like this, partnering with Belize Brain Awareness Society and other organizations, whatever promotions we can do. Our teacher training, we have a teacher training coming up with over 80 people registered on Thursday on functional communication basics.
Wow, that's good.
For our training on Thursday. These are the things that will help teach and promote awareness and show support. These are, they're little steps. We have a long way to go, but it's through these little things that hopefully we can reach an end goal at some time in the future. And we have gone really long now. So on that note, unless anybody else has anything to add, I want to thank you ladies so much for taking your time. I'm sorry I kept you all so long, but I really, really appreciate you, Miss Elia and Miss Joe, for coming on and sharing and answering questions. And Miss Nuñez, thank you so much for helping me organize this. You have been
no problem, Miss.
Autism Belize. I'm really happy that we have this relationship and that we're able to do something like this. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much of these brain awareness.
No problem.
Really, really do. And we'll follow
We
up.
need to do another talk like this again, ladies. I believe maybe another time Miss the teacher shows her some of her work, what she does, and maybe you guys show what you guys do with your children, with your autistic children, and then we bring it out to the forefront and show them, literally, visually show them what it is that all of this that we're saying this week, what all it entails.
That can be done. think we can do that.
We can do that next
Yes.
week.
There we go. Oh, here we go. One last one. All I can add is normal is boring. That's why
Normal is so boring. Trust me.
That's one thing my house is never. My house is never boring. We never know what to do. That is very, very true. So thank you guys. We'll talk business and see if any of our parents who might be willing to film their kids and show what they're doing and everything as a follow-up. And we will catch up with the winners because you had a couple presents. So we'll deal with that tomorrow on Facebook. And
Yes.
those giveaways. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And good night, Facebook.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Night, night.